Hello. We're gonna get back to actually doing some work. Went and got some good food, ate it. Feeling good. So we are actually gonna do work then, aren't we? So we were working earlier on basically getting some basic movements playing properly. Some animations with our movement. And just some real high level stuff. But I'm going to be working on a few different things starting off here. One of which is the camera controls. Pretty clear we're going to need a little bit better camera stuff. I like to data drive it real quick because it seems like something pretty important. So what I'd like to do is be able to make a new object inside of the editor for Unreal, which will have all of our data. So we need an actual like object factory for camera data object. So we're gonna need to actually just go make that. So we've already done a few things. Yeah, food was good. I don't know, I'm still wiped out, just tired from this week. So I probably won't be streaming like a whole heck of a lot today in terms of actual work. Probably do another like 3 hours or something like that. And then I'll do like my sprint planning and the rest, and then probably just play some games and relax, because it's just how it is. So this is going to be the U camera control data class, and to create a new object inside of Unreal, this will be something you can actually make. You have to set up a whole bunch of random boilerplate crap, so that's what we're going to do first. So we have to create a factory for your U objects, and then you have to create the U object, you have to create the factory for the U object, then you have to like register the U factory and all that stuff, and then you can actually create an object in the editor. It's a little annoying that you have to do all this stuff, but it's not the worst thing in the world. There are things that are worse. Now why isn't this thing's being angry with me? It's not letting me copy this thing. Alright, now it's working. Okay, it was just perforce being a pain in the ass. Think you gotta get some copy? Yeah, copy's good. Not a bad idea. So, you movement data, you camera control data, are transactional. Alright, then we have to create the you camera control data. So where is you movement data defined? Movement data structures is where this guy is. We need a sense him over. Yeah, it'll be gotta sense him all the way to the west coast of the USA. I think it's more I was just staying up way too late this week, doing a lot of stuff like that. So where should I be sticking these things? I mean, Dashkin game data would probably be a decent place to throw it, actually. So it's camera control data. So what are we going to need for our camera? Let us find out. So I think we're going to need an F vector. Like for our camera, we're basically going to want like a follow speed. A follow speed, we're going to want an ortho width. I mean, I can just boot open the global utils on this thing. Let's see what we're using right now. So we got the follow speed, follow vector, ortho width. I don't know if we're even using the follow vector anymore. Definitely ortho width. Follow speed, ortho width, and the... Oh, what is it? We want an offset, so we should do like camera offset for the camera control data, and that should do some of that. We might also want to have a few other things. It should probably be fine for now, though. So we just need to do a few basic things. Alright, so we'll just separate these off a little bit. So U camera control data and the U camera control data object is here. So we need to go to the object factories. We need to make sure to include Dashkin game data .h. And we should be, yeah, this is U camera control data factory is what we should actually be creating. And camera control data is the actual data structure. Not bad. And let's go to our editor module stuff and make sure that we don't have to register anything else, which we absolutely do. Logic state, movement object, movement data type actions. Okay, so we actually need to edit these things. Oh man, Adam's auto-hosting me for a maximum, for up to 68 viewers. We're gonna have like all the people showing up. It's gonna be off the chain. So we need to register our asset types. So basically, we need to make a f-Dashkin movement type actions. Yeah, we need to edit the asset type actions. There's a lot of boilerplate for making a new object, which is pretty annoying, but I mean, you think like, okay, you can make an just a thing, right? This is camera control data type actions, but yeah. This is camera control object. You think you could like declare an object and then you could go make it and stuff like that, but you gotta like go make a whole bunch of classes and a whole bunch of crazy shenaniganries just to get this thing to work. And it's kind of frustrating to have to do, but it was more frustrating to learn, like trying to figure out that I needed to set all this stuff up. It's not well documented. Yeah, and if you screw up one of these things, isn't that a manual host? Yeah, I highly doubt Adam is awake right now. He got a notification that I was online from his bed, hit all the buttons on the control panel. I would be extremely surprised if that was actually the case. But actually learning how to do all this stuff was just pulling teeth, because if you screwed something up, it just wouldn't show up. Like, it just wouldn't work, and there'd be absolutely there'd be no explanation as to why what you did not work. It just would not work. Which is always the most frustrating kind of thing that happens. It's like, okay, cool, it's not working, where do I even start? And then we need to go to the player proxy. And the player proxy data should have on it the camera control, data. So what this will allow us to do is this will allow us to get camera control data. This will allow us to retrieve camera data and set it for a level, basically. And we could always go grab different camera control data and shove that onto something we want. Alright, so camera control is there, it's null, we need to actually define this function. Or it's not in the actor, it's in the data. Yeah, it was pretty funny earlier that Adam was just getting offline and he sent me all these people pretty much through the channel, and I'm like, yeah, how's it going, guys? Yeah, I'm gonna leave now. Because I was just like, I need to eat. At least I thought it was funny. So let's see if this compiles for us. Compiling the editor stuff can sometimes take a little bit longer. So did Adam ever actually finish Hollow Knight, or did he just get like super angry at it and just quit? Because if he just quit, then I can like give him a whole raft of shit for it. First few minutes after the host. He's still in the middle of it? Alright. So, he's fair game. Camera container has already been initialized. Alright. Alright, well that should have successfully extended the editor for us, so now we can create our camera control objects. And that's also kind of one of the annoying things, is if you want to create like new data structures that are fully qualified types and all that, you gotta kind of crack open the code and add it yourself. So we're going to go to gameplay, and we're going to make a new folder, and we're going to call it camera. And inside of here we should see Dashkin camera data. Yeah, so we can just do like standard camera. And so our camera offset, let's see, we're going to set it to well, really what we want here is this is going to be our Y, right? So it's going to be like, well, our Z is up and down, so X and blah aren't really going to be too valuable. So our Y should be kind of how far in front we're leading somebody. So why don't we say like we'll lead somebody by 1,000 naturally, and why don't we also, yeah, we'll just do 500, 500 and see how that works. And our follow speed, right now our follow speed is 10,000, so we're gonna go with 10,000. And our ortho width was by default 5,500, so we're gonna do that. And then we're gonna be able to go to our gameplay, and it was on our player proxy if I'm not mistaken. We have a camera controller here, so we can do standard camera right in there. And we'll do that again for standard player. We'll set up our standard camera. It looks like we got our categories messed up on that, so we're gonna go fix our categories and remove the camera distance there. Let's see, player proxy data. Yeah, we've got camera right there, and we'll just get rid of camera distance because that doesn't matter. Alright. So we've got our camera containers, they're set up. So our player proxy actor. Let's take a look. can go ahead and remove that follow speed. Get set follow speed is not going to be something we care about. Follow offset's also not something we're going to care about. Let's see, camera actor, follow speed doesn't matter, follow offset doesn't matter. Get set follow speeds aren't going to be real. We're instead going to have a U property, which is going to be a U camera control data. It's going to be M camera control data, or just camera data. Set that to null pointer. Let's see, set entity, set player proxy. Alright, so if player proxy does not equal null pointer, and camera data is going to be player proxy get camera control data. Alright. Alright, so we're going to call set wanted position. The wanted position X is going to be cameraman. Or are we actually calling it set wanted to get the translation of that action? And then we're going to say M wanted position plus equals, and we're going to do F vector offset equals camera data like how we have all these millions of variables. It's like I don't care about any of those. Just tell me what the things are. So if M camera data is not even null pointer. Alright, so we'll basically, our offset's going to be like that, and I think we need to get our rotation. We need to see if the object is rotated to the right or to the left. So I think we also need to set our lead on there. So we'll just not worry about that for the moment. Alright, so our float follow speed, we're going to initialize it to just nothing. The reason we're doing null pointer checks is just because Alright, let's see. Ortho width is set up camera field of view. Okay, so what we want to do is, so if m camera data is not equal null pointer, we're gonna do camera data ortho width. And we're also going to do some here where we save the ortho width that we last set this thing to. So we're going to have a private variable. Let's say float m last ortho width. So we're going to set that to this guy. And we're also going to set here, like, if our m last ortho width, yeah, if m camera data does not equal null pointer, and last ortho width does not equal camera data ortho width, then set up camera field of view. So we'll snag it there. So that should set up our ortho width properly. Set t set player proxy. Alright, we'll see if we got it. Well, I don't want to do this. We just want to have like some really crappy default here. Just because it just doesn't matter. The only camera constants I think we're going to have are the max X and min X. So I just took those out of our globals. So now we should be able to tinker with our camera. And we're also going to do a little bit of work on leading the character based on their speed and zooming the camera out a bit. You know, like a normal camera should. Update camera perspective. Alright, we want last ortho width. I guess we shouldn't actually be I mean, we're setting this every frickin' frame, so we don't actually need to call setup FOV for this right there. So not a problem. So let's just make sure this does what we want it to do, which is we'll actually use our camera data. We can zoom in and out, and we have a very basic offset. So let's go ahead and play and see what we get. Yeah, so we get just complete garbage. Excellent, that's not what we wanted. So standard camera's there, standard player has standard camera, that's true. So go to our level. Alright, so we are using the Bitey player. There's this guy which has got standard camera on it. Okay. So what the fuck? Sit player proxy. I mean, there should be a post-spawn actor thing where we actually set all this data. Well, when we call begin play, how did we actually set our player proxy. It's just set. Well, maybe what we should do is set player proxy. Just go ahead and call this with player proxy. We'll see. We should be called that. We should now actually be called, and we should be able to snag our camera and do our camera stuff. We didn't crash, which is what we wanted. So at least I put in all the right checks to prevent it from blowing up in our faces if it's not configured properly. Alright, so there's our camera. As you can see, even just a very small offset works pretty well. And if we go to our camera data, we should be able to just zoom ourselves out, like ortho width, and we'll set that to like 10,000. We can save that, and then when we hit play, we're like way zoomed out, right? So the question is, why is that scale off? Like, that scale should work. So let's take a look at why our planes are not scaled properly. It's like update camera position, set up camera clip distances, position render planes. No, the FOV changes the X scale is the window width times these things by 25. So we have nothing in here with the ortho width of the camera actually determining how big the scaled foreground and background plane should be, which is what is absolutely necessary. So is the scale actually going to be if the clip planes are 100 each, really what we should be looking at is the ortho width, and we should be taking that into account. It should be the ortho width. So we just take the window X divided by 100. Yeah, it should be our ortho width divided by 100 for the X and Y scale. So, float ortho width equals last ortho width. So it's basically going to be window X divided by ortho width, and then the Y scale is going to be what? The X scale divided by the aspect? Yes, should be the last ortho width divided by 100. That should just be X scale divided by aspect. Cinema style? Yeah. That's when you zoom the camera back and you're like, wait a minute, this was all a play. Super Mario Brothers 3, or Mario Brothers 3 had it right. The whole thing is just a play. That looks like it actually worked. Though, let's confirm that it worked. Let's say x scale minus equals 100, you know, like 10, and y scale minus equal 10. And we should see it. Pull in a little bit. Alright, so we know changing it by a factor, you know, a little bit by 10 works. We'll see if now we're just gonna double check. We're gonna set it to just like 2. We're just verifying that it's actually pixel perfect, because we just want to double check that. Yeah, and that's just a little tiny bit too small, which is exactly what it should be. So now we've got exactly what we want. Now the interesting thing is that we don't exactly want to define these camera constants in data. We want to define kind of some constraints, and our camera should try to maintain those constraints. So, oops. So the ByD player needs to actually use ByD player proxy. Standard camera. So instead of these sorts of things, what we're really going to want is to zoom the camera out based on like how fast you're going, so we're able to actually and then we'll want to zoom the camera in when you're not moving too quick. So we'll want to like zoom the camera out when you're running super quick and lead ByD, and then we'll want to zoom the camera in so when you're just not doing much, that, you know, the camera nicely gets you in view. That's already pretty cool. You know, with like the awesome backgrounds that Adam's been working on. You know, zooming the camera out just even a little bit, there's definitely some potential for the feelings of going really fast and being able to actually jump over some cool obstacles. Alright, so let's start working on the actual camera constraints. So what sort of constraints are we going to need for this camera? Like, let's take a second to think about it. So we've got our camera, and we're going to need to basically figure out what do we want this camera to do. We want the camera to lead, so we need kind of we're probably going to want like an F vector lead vector, and that's like the vector in which we will lead the character. I'm also trying to think, I'm like, so when we're leading, do we ever want to lead by anything other than just the direction the character is going? And should we lead by the direction the character is traveling, or should we just lead to the left or right and zoom out and not really worry too much about it, right? Like, should we never lead by their motion or not? Like, just think about it. Because there's probably arguments for both sides. So if we're running up a hill, it'll probably look, more like this. And we're going super quick. If we led the camera, and we actually give ourselves a little bit better picture here. So why don't we try, like, here is our big world with our character. And if our camera is like this, then if we're centered on him, yeah, I need to make a smaller camera. So our camera is leading this character, and we lead based on just left or right. We're just going to move him over here, and then if we make it bigger, we're going to be able to see ahead of us. But if we went by the direction of motion, we'd look more like that. So we'd see farther up. Now what would that do? If we had something in the foreground, since we're moving the camera up, kind of our foreground would fall away, and we might have some issues where if we're running up or down, based on the speed you are going, you might see different foregrounds, which is not what we want. So we probably just want to shift the camera based on left or right. We don't want to do too much fancy work, because then we're not going to know exactly what you're going to see as a player, obscuring the foreground. So we probably just want to shift it left or right based on that motion. I mean, I guess if you're falling, we probably just want to have the zoom deal with it if you're falling. So we shouldn't like lead it incredibly far. It would be more of like your motion, and then we just give you more down vision by doing that. So we should probably do lead amount. So we want like lead min, lead max. That'll be the minimum amount of lead, maximum amount of lead. And then we want like lead based on velocity. So we want like we need a minimum and maximum lead, and then we basically want like what value scrolls us for if we're running to like maximum lead on the camera. So the lead velocity ratio. How far the camera moves based on the followed actor's velocity. Okay, so that should do our lead, and we should also have like a bool, like use lead, use camera lead. If our camera should lead the followed actor or not. Cool thing about Unreal is any comments you put above these hue properties will show up in the editor when you mouse over something. So I can give Adam some pretty decent hints as to exactly what all of these things do. So we no longer want ortho width here. Ortho width is the width of our camera. Basically what we want is a min and a max. So we want like min or ortho width and then a max ortho width. And then we want a basically camera, let's see, it should just be ortho width, velocity ratio, and the next question should be this is the ratio to how fast we are going to our zoom, to how much we zoom. This is the max zoom width. This is the default zoom, and minimum zoom. We're also going to want a couple things, aren't we? Like we're going to want some smoothing values in here. Because if the camera is too responsive to what the character's doing, then it can be really sickening. Like if your character hits a wall and the camera immediately does something based on that, then like it's gonna look awful. But we can always just fix things that look awful when we actually see them. So we could have like a zoom speed. And we can also have a lead speed. Yeah, we're gonna try to get people sick with this game. That's gonna be one of our goals. And we should have a bool here, which is like use camera zoom, use dynamic camera zoom. And what I should do is I should also categorize these things. This should be camera zoom for all these things, and then we'll do camera lead for the other things. We're just going to call this just camera offset, camera follow speed. Alright, let's just make sure we got all this compiled up properly. And then we'll work on implementing it. And of course this is not what we want, but that's because our defaults are probably all sorts of screwed up, so let's go in here. Yeah, our zoom speeds and all these things. We're gonna go ahead and set those defaults. You set your defaults in Unreal on these objects by setting them inside of like the initial constructor. So like camera offset, we're just going to do f vector, 0 vector. Follow speed, let's just set that to 10,000. Use dynamic camera zoom, we're going to set that to true. Zoom speed, we're going to set that to 100. I don't know what's a good value, so we're just gonna deal with it. Min ortho width, we are going to set to 3000. Max ortho width, we're going to set to 10,000. Ortho width velocity ratio. So this is how fast we're going based, and then what width we're going to do. So let's do a quick calculation. So we got 7,000 units to work with, and our maximum speed is going to be what, like 10,000? So it's really just like 0.7. So why don't we just try that? Use camera lead, we're going to set that to true by default.